What happens a lot of the time when people have started their NoFap journeys is they ask questions like, why can I only get to 10 days of NoFap and then I relapse again? Or why can I not get to my goal of 30 days? And the answer to these questions is fairly simple. And that is that NoFap is harder and more challenging than you thought it was, than you anticipated. I'm going to share with you a story. When I started NoFap, I was watching a video and this guy was explaining to his audience that he had a goal, and that was to get to 365 days without watching pornography or masturbating, but he couldn't get to that goal. And he would explain to his audience that he constantly feels the need to relapse, and perhaps that the goal that he set for himself was just too challenging, too difficult. And I remember watching that video, and I hadn't started NoFap, but I was introducing myself to the concept and the idea. And I remember telling myself, this guy can't get to 365 days of NoFap. Wait till I start NoFap and I'm going to prove to him and myself and to everybody else that getting to 365 days is a piece of cake, that it can be done overnight. And I was far from the truth. NoFap was a huge challenge for me. In fact, I can't even begin to remember how long it's taken me to get to a stage where I can do 365 days of NoFap comfortably. However, what that guy was saying in his video is relatable to me now, or at least it was back then when I first started my NoFap journey. I just didn't know it. But look, as men who are navigating our ways through society, it's difficult to admit that there is an epidemic or there is a mass problem with pornography and masturbation in our day and age. And often it's hard to admit to yourself or ourselves, at least it was for myself, to acknowledge that I was actually addicted to pornography and masturbation, and that those things weren't serving any purpose that was positive in my life. So the reason why I struggled with NoFap and semen retention when I first started is because, first of all, I told myself that it was going to be easy. But secondly, because I didn't want to acknowledge the fact that I was addicted to pornography and masturbation. However, there is a saying out there, and some of you might have heard it, and that saying is that we can't deal with our problems, our issues, until we bring them up to the surface. Only when they are visible in their truest form and nature can we begin to deal with them and tackle them. So what happened when I first started NoFap was I was constantly relapsing. But I kept going and I kept pushing myself and I kept telling myself that there's going to be a day where I just won't relapse at all, and I'm going to make it and I'm going to do it, and I'll be able to eradicate this pornography and masturbation addiction out of my life. The reason why I was constantly relapsing and why the difficulty of NoFap took me by surprise, was because I wasn't man enough to admit to myself that I suffered from a pornography and masturbation addiction. So unless I allowed myself to bring that problem to the surface, I was never going to allow myself to deal with it, meaning that I was going to constantly relapse and I was going to continue relapsing until I acknowledged my problem, which was that I was addicted to pornography and masturbation. So seeing NoFap in its truest form and its truest nature, which is difficult, allowed me to then bring my problem up to the surface. And by allowing myself to have a 360-degree view of my problem, my addiction to pornography and masturbation, I gave myself the opportunity to deal with the problem efficiently. So if anybody out there is struggling with constant relapsing, you can't seem to fight off the urges, you can only get to a certain number of days and then the urges are just unbearable. Look, until you begin to acknowledge and realize that you probably suffer from an addiction to pornography and masturbation, and not only that, but that severe, that addiction is probably more severe than you think. So the only way you are going to allow yourself to deal with it is by acknowledging that you are addicted. And by acknowledging the addiction, meaning that you are acknowledging that it's a problem and a problem in your life, then you allow yourself the opportunity to deal with it properly. Just acknowledge the fact that pornography and masturbation isn't good. Acknowledge that it's a problem in your life, that you need to deal with it. And I can guarantee you'll start seeing some serious results on your NoFap streaks. Divine Masculine Tantra, I hope to see you on the next video.